When people talk about AI, they usually picture like these huge tech companies, just pouring money into these massive AI models.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that the future of AI is actually getting smaller, more focused?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool shift.
And that's good news for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Not
Yeah.
just the big companies.
Right. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
Yeah.
Mike Capone, CEO of Click, sat down with the Indian Express on February 23rd.
Okay,
And he basically gives us this like sneak peek behind the curtain of where AI is actually going.
it's a really interesting interview.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that really struck me was his argument that the real AI arms race
Mm-hmm.
isn't about who has the biggest, most impressive model,
Right.
but actually who can use AI effectively.
Right.
So it's not just a technology competition anymore. It's really a strategic one.
Yeah, it's less about building it and more about wielding it.
Exactly.
It's like a master swordsman, can be way more dangerous with a simple blade than a novice with some, fancy weapon.
Yeah, 100%. And Capone actually predicts that by next year, 90% of businesses are going to be using what he calls practical and purpose-built AI.
Okay.
So think of it as like trading in your giant Swiss Army knife for a set of really precise tools,
Yeah.
each one perfectly designed for a specific task.
Okay. That makes sense in theory.
Yeah.
But where are we seeing this play out in the real world?
Well, Capone points to this company, DeepSeek AI.
Okay.
They're a Chinese startup that's making some serious waves in the AI world.
Yeah.
They're taking this specialized approach, and they're actually outperforming some of the models from the big tech giants.
Wow.
And they're doing it with way fewer resources.
That's amazing. So it's like David and Goliath, but in the AI world.
Pretty much.
So what's their secret weapon?
Well, it's all about focus.
Yeah.
They just laser focus on building models that are designed to excel at one very specific task.
Okay.
So, for example, they have a model that's specifically built for analyzing medical images
Okay.
to detect certain diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually proving to be more accurate than some of the more general-purpose models out there.
So it's not just about size, it's about, precision and understanding the specific problem.
Right. And their success is also highlighting another really important trend,
Okay.
which is the increasing affordability of AI.
Oh, interesting.
Capone actually argues that this is like the real game changer,
Okay.
because now businesses of all sizes can actually afford to move beyond just experimenting with AI
Right.
and actually start integrating it into their day-to-day operations.
That's huge.
It is. But I imagine actually putting that into practice, what Capone calls operationalizing AI,
Yeah.
is probably not super easy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's not as simple as just plugging it in and letting it run.
Right. There are definitely some hurdles that businesses face.
Yeah.
Like having their data kind of scattered all over the place,
Oh, yeah.
not having enough people that actually know how to work with AI,
Excellent.
and even just like a general resistance to letting AI make decisions.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some challenges.
Yeah, I bet a lot of companies are kind of stuck in AI purgatory right now. They know it's powerful, but they don't know how to actually unlock it.
Exactly.
So it sounds like a lot of companies are kind of in like this AI purgatory.
Yeah.
They know it can do stuff, but they just don't know how to actually like unlock it and actually make it useful.
Yeah. And that's where companies like Hoop are trying to come in.
Okay.
They're trying to bridge this gap by basically weaving AI-powered tools directly into the software that businesses are already using.
So instead of like ripping and replacing all their existing software, it's more like giving their tools an AI upgrade.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's a really smart approach because it makes AI so much more accessible,
Yeah.
especially for, smaller businesses that don't have the resources to build their own AI infrastructure from scratch.
Right. It's like giving them a power up, but without having to like learn this whole new set of skills. But even with all these like easier to use tools, Capone keeps talking about how important data strategy is.
Yeah.
He even says your AI is only as good as the data it's built on.
Right.
Why is he putting so much emphasis on that?
Well, because at the end of the day, AI is basically a learning machine.
Right.
It learns from the data you feed it. So if you're giving it bad data, inaccurate data, or incomplete data, your AI is going to make bad decisions, or what we call biased decisions.
Oh, so it's like trying to bake a cake, but with like spoiled ingredients.
Yeah,
You might follow the recipe perfectly, but it's still going to be a disaster.
exactly. That's why having a solid data strategy is like non-negotiable if you want to actually succeed with AI.
Okay.
You need to have really clear rules about how your data is collected, how it's organized, and how people can actually access it.
Uh-huh.
And you need to make sure that it's clean, that it's accurate, and most importantly, that it's actually relevant to the problems that you're trying to solve with AI.
So it's not just about having a lot of data. It's about having the right data. Okay. But getting back to the AI arms race.
Yeah.
Capone doesn't really think it's going to end up the way most people think, right?
No, he actually predicts that the winners won't be the companies with like the most sophisticated models,
Okay.
but the ones who are actually best at integrating AI into their business.
Interesting. So it's less about having the most advanced tech and more about knowing how to actually use it effectively.
Exactly. And there's this other really interesting trend that he mentions.
Okay.
Gartner is predicting that by 2028, 40% of AI is going to be bought and sold through marketplaces.
Wait, AI marketplaces?
Yeah.
So you're saying I'll be able to just go online and buy like a pre-trained AI model
It seems that way.
for my business?
Yeah. Which would be huge because it would really democratize access to AI.
Yeah.
And allow even more businesses to easily find and implement AI solutions without having to build everything from scratch.
So the AI landscape is going to look totally different in just a few years.
It already is changing really rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
But Capone's vision for the future of AI is really about like practicality over hype.
Okay.
He cautions against getting too caught up in all the excitement around AI
Right.
without first having a really clear strategy
Yeah.
and like well-defined business goals.
So it's not about chasing the newest, shiniest AI model, but figuring out how AI can actually solve your problems and move your business forward.
Exactly. Think of AI as like a really powerful tool,
Yeah.
but it needs a skilled operator.
Right.
Without a clear plan and purpose, you're just going to end up with a lot of like noise and wasted effort.
So it all comes back to Capone's point about connecting AI to actual business outcomes.
Right.
You need to start by asking yourself, like, what problem am I actually trying to solve?
Yeah.
And how can AI help me get there?
Exactly. And if we look at the bigger picture, this whole shift towards more practical and purpose-built AI,
Yeah.
it's going to completely revolutionize how businesses operate.
It's not just automating tasks. It's about changing how decisions are made, how companies interact with their customers, how they use their data.
Exactly. And as AI becomes more and more integrated into like everyday workflows, I think we can expect to see some really major improvements in efficiency, productivity, and even like innovation across pretty much every industry.
But you know, all this talk about like the amazing potential of AI.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we also be asking like, what could go wrong?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy to get really excited about all the possibilities,
Yeah.
but it's super important to think about the potential downsides
I
too.
think we can't just like blindly adopt it without thinking about the consequences.
Right. We need to be really thoughtful about how we develop it and how we use it.
So like, what does responsible AI actually look like, you know, when you're actually putting it into practice?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that AI isn't neutral.
Okay.
It's shaped by the data it learns from and the people who build it and use it.
So it's like we have to be aware of the potential for biases.
Exactly. We need to be constantly on the lookout for biases in the data and the algorithms, and we have to make sure that AI is used fairly.
And ethically.
Right. And it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we as a society decide to use it.
It's like a collective responsibility.
Yeah, we need to be having these conversations about the ethics of AI. And we need to develop some guidelines and regulations that promote responsible innovation, but also protect individual rights and, you know, our values as a society.
This interview with Capone has really made me think about how fast the AI landscape is changing.
Yeah.
From smaller, specialized models to AI marketplaces, it feels like we're at the beginning of a huge shift.
We are. And as you think about how all of this might affect your work or your industry, just remember that the best AI solutions are the ones that are really tailored to the problems they're trying to solve.
So don't just jump on the AI bandwagon because everyone else is.
Yeah.
Take some time to think about what you want to do and how AI can actually help you.
The future of AI is still being written, and it's up to all of us to make sure that it's a good one.
That's a great point. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
It was a good one.
But make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our next episode, where we'll be taking a deep dive into another cutting-edge topic shaping the future.